Hello devs, welcome to the first part of the platformer tutorial series. So just like the name implies, we'll be creating a platformer game in GDevelop 5. So let's get Notepad out here. Let's have a list of what we would create in this first part. So first we would create a player. Sorry about that. We'll create a player and the events. Here we go. The events which would be used for our player. Would also add in some platforms for our player to walk on. So we'll be working on this 3 in this first part of the tutorial. Okay, so let's open GDevelop. Here we go. Okay, so we have this now. For those who are new to GDevelop, GDevelop is an easy to use game creator with no programming language to learn. So let's create a new project. You can do that by clicking on the create a new project. Open the project button opens up an existing project, while the create a new project creates a new project. Okay, so here we go. These are a list of status examples tutorials. Okay, so let's just scroll to the bottom. Here you can see empty game, start a game from scratch. Let's click on that. So this would open a blank document or blank file for us. Okay, so here we go. This is what a new project or an empty game looks like. So let's review every single one of this. So for game settings, the properties. So right here we can fill in our game name. We would fill in a name really soon. Your version number, you can fill it in here, and the display GDevelop splash at startup. Once you have a subscription, you can check that out, and it would display GDevelop splash screen once you open your game. So we have this package name for iOS and Android. So fill this in, but we would do this later on in the series. The author's name would also fill this in here. The width and the game window width screen or window size. So this is the game resolution resize if you want it to full screen or window. Okay, so there we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so here we go. We have the minimum FPS and the maximum FPS, and we have the device orientation. We have landscape and portrait. This is mostly for mobile device. We have the scale mode, and we have the linear and nearest. I think the nearest is good for pixel perfect games, while the linear is good for most games. Okay, so add mob would also use this later on, and project file type would also set this pretty soon. Okay, so there we go. This here we have our global variables. Would also work on this. We have our icons. Would here you can sorry about that. Okay, so we can fill in our icons right here. So just generate a new icon. Would work on this later on. Resources, now this would this is where all the assets used in the game are placed. Okay, and also the resources, that scenes would also work on this pretty soon. External events would get to this, but external events can be used to link. You can link an external event to multiple scenes. So if you don't want to repeat the same events in every scene you create, you can just create one external event and link it across all the scenes. Okay, so next up the external layout. So an external layouts can be used to create a layout of objects, just as in the scene editor. The objects can be then dynamically inserted into a scene using the actions in the external events. Okay, so that's the use of the external event. So the functions and behaviors, you can create a function here, and you can use a function in the game, and you can search for new extensions. Here we go. So you can get these extensions which are not in GDevelop, and all you have to do is just insert the extensions, and that's it. Okay, so let's go all the way to properties, and let's name our game. Let's give our game a name. So for now we could just go with platformer. Okay, so later on we could select a name. Okay, game name and author's name, we're all doing this, so we'll just name this author GDevelop. Okay, wait, Okay, I think I'll just fill in my name here. Okay, the jam dev, there we go, that's author's name. Would get back to this. Now for the game resolution, we've set that to 1000 and the height 600. Apply that and let's add, okay, I'll just close this, and close this, and let's add a new scene right here. Add a new scene, and let's open that. Okay, so here we go. This is what a scene looks like. Once you create a scene, this is where most of the layouts takes place. So you can place in your stages right here. So about this, I'll arrange this. I want it to look like GDevelop. So okay, so I'll just pull this back in. You can also rearrange your scene just the way you like it. Okay, so there we go. I'll just place this back to the way it is. Okay, so there we go. Then we have this. This is what the scene editor actually looks like, or it looks like once you add a new scene. Okay, so there we go. Now first of all, we need to get our character. Right now we don't have a character to import, so let's go download a character right here. Here we go. Okay, so normally I download my characters from Kenny. Yeah, there we go, Kenny. So he has a bunch of really good characters. Okay, so here we go. We have this right here. Okay, then let's click on download assets, and let's get a 2D assets. Okay, so we need a character, so we need a player, so I don't think he has it here. There we go, that's loaded, and okay, I think I'll just get some abstract characters, so abstract, there we go, search for that. Okay, so here we go, we have the abstract platform. I'll just download that, open. Okay, so here we go, download, and okay, you can donate. Okay, so here we go. I have to select a location. I'll save this on my desktop. So there we go, save. Okay, something already exists, so say this is to save, and there we go. Okay, so let's go to our desktop now. Here we go. Now we have this. Let's extract it. Here we go. So extract files. Okay, so here we go. Extract. So we have this now. We have this file containing assets, really lovely assets. We have backgrounds, and we have our enemies, we have items, others, we have items, we have players. We'll be using the player for this, so let's use just go through every single one of them. Player blue, no. Player green, no. Gray. Okay, you know what, we could create a shop later on, so we could buy our characters. Okay, to be like a skin, you're buying a skin. Okay, so let's just add in this object. So here, right here, add new object, and now apply this actually object, this sprites animated objects. They can be used for most elements of the game. Well, this is what we actually use to create players. It's much more preferable you use the sprites because he has a lot of, you can add in animations. Okay, so let's click on that. And let's add an animation. Before we do this, object name, let's set a name. I'll name this player, add an animation. Now we have this animations, this is animation 0, this is animation 1. You can choose to add an animation name, but we would add one once we have all animations. So let's go add. Okay, so here we go. I'll just go all the way to the desktop, and right here, PNG and players, and red. Right here we have our red, and let's get the up. Okay, I think this looks like an idle. Let's get something similar to an idle animation. There we go. That's a player stand. So we would call this idle. Okay, so there we go. Animation name, we can call this idle. Okay, now let's add in, we need an animation for player to walk, so add, let's add in a walk animation. I think this would do. The player walk, right here, 1 2 3, and should we add this? Yeah, this would do. Open this. Okay, so this would be our walk for our player. Okay, let's add a jump animation. So add an animation and add, let's add in a jump. What's similar to a jump? Okay, here we go. We have the red up. This would do. Okay, so we have this as the jump. Okay, so here we go. Now we have this places the animation, but this won't do anything yet because we haven't added the behaviors. But before we add the behaviors, we need to set this to loop. Now here we go. This is why we need to set this to loop. Once a player is walking, we want this to keep on going on and on. But here we go. Now it plays only this animation. It plays the first, second, third, and fourth animation, then it stops. That's because the loop is not checked. So once we check the loop, it would keep on going over and over and over again, which is what we want. Okay, so there we go. Now let's go to our behaviors. Now we need to add a behavior and add a behavior. So here we go. Now we have the platform. The platform characters can run on. This is what we'd use for the flow, but for a character we need a platform character, which is a controllable character that can jump and run on platforms. So let's select that, and the acceleration would come to this later on. Also we get to grab platform ledges later on. Default controls, okay, I'll explain this. By default, GDevelop gives you the default controls of right, which is the right, left, right, left, up and down, which are your keys right there. So you can choose to use that, or you can uncheck that if you don't want to use it. But for this tutorial, we will be using the default controls. Okay, so that's the next up. Okay, so the grab tolerance and x-axis, this decides how close your player has to be to the platform to be able to grab the platform. So this is actually you're actually grabbing the platform. So the gravity, this is sorry about that, this is the gravity of the player. It's actually the force he takes to come down, so that's 1000. This is the jump speed, the speed it takes to jump, the ladder climbing speed. So this is a new feature. Actually, it wasn't in older versions of GDevelop. So this decides how fast you want your player to climb a ladder. So the maximum falling speed, that's the speed, that's the maximum speed it takes for your player to fall, and this is the total speed your player would move at. So your player cannot exceed this speed of 250. Okay, so by changing this value, which is a slope max angle, we set the maximum angle of a slope that the player can climb. Okay, so which means once it's set to 0, which means the player can only walk on a flat surface. The jump sustain time, this time actually sustains your player in the air once your player jumps. We would use this later on in the game. So for this, let's just set this also. By the default controls, I mean arrow keys and the shift. The arrow keys control the player, while the shift key makes the player jump. So that's what the default controls of GDevelop are. Okay, so let's apply that. Okay, so we have that. We have our player. We can pull our player into the scene, and once we preview this, you can make a preview by clicking on this the play button right here. So let's preview this. So there we go. As you can see, our player just fell down. That's a good sign because the platform behavior we gave our player now works. That's a perfect sign. Now that shows us that now we need to add a platform for a player, because we don't want a player just falling all the way down like this. There we go. We need a platform for a player, to stay on. So let's add new objects. Let's get a platform. Let's add a sprite. So a platform would actually be a sprite. Well, now I would explain this right now. So here we go. There's a difference between without sprite and the sprite object. The without sprite lets you displays an image. Here we go, or repeat it over an area. So if you're making a really big background, I would advise you use the without sprite, because this would repeat the image over and over again. But and also it's really good because it makes your game faster. It improves the performance of your game, while the sprite just stretches the object and gives it a really bad look. Okay, so for this we could use the sprite, and we could also use the without sprite. So let's use the sprite for this. Sorry about that, we already have one, so I'll delete this. You can delete by clicking on this three arrows right here and clicking on the delete right here. Okay, so let's open this up and add an animation and add. Okay, so let's get our player. Now I'm sorry about that, PNG, and I think we should have it in our files, and right here we need a flow. Okay, there we go. We have this place, it's here. Okay, so let's select a file. I think we'll be using this right here, and I'll name this. Okay, I'll name this flow. So this would be our flow object, and apply. Now to place this properly, because if we place this, we have to keep on going through our events or our x and y coordinates to place it properly. You can easily place your object by using the grid. You can activate the grid by clicking on this right here, which is the foreground edit grid right here. You can click on this. This shows the mask. This is actually a mask which shows you the current area, which is the size of the screen. And okay, so here we go. And the show grid, this shows the grid. Now we can use this grid to position this properly, which makes it really good. So by default, you can also edit the values. By default, I think we get 32 by 32, which is a cell width of 32 and the cell height of 32. You can set the x offset right here and the y offset. For this, I think we should set the cell width and the cell height to the same size of our flow object, which is 64. Sorry about that, 64 by 64. So our file uses 64 by 64, which makes it really nice. So we can place this here, and you can keep on pulling this in. Now this is where without sprites would be really good. Okay, so here we go, and here we go. Let's keep adding a without sprite. You could just pull this in. Now, like what I said earlier, now this is what happens when you stretch a sprite object. You get it? It actually stretches it, and which gives it a really bad look. Okay, let's keep adding this and adding and adding. So there we go. Now let's add in a base, which is another layer below our flow object. So let's add new object. Now we would use without sprites for this. So without sprites, and choose a new image. Here we go. So this is it right here, and okay. So name this floor lower. So floor lower, and apply, and let's put this into the scene. Okay, sorry, I forgot to explain this. Okay, so the default width and the default height. So this is actually the size it comes into the editor width. As you can see, this is currently using 32 by 32. That's why it's like this. So once we pull this in, it comes in as 32 by 32. But once we set this to 64 by 64, apply that. Now we pull this in at that size, which is perfect for this. So let's delete this and delete this. Now for without sprite, now we can just stretch this out like this. Now it's repeating the image over and over, which is by 32, so it keeps on repeating the image over and over again. Okay, so that's it. Now we have a basic flow and our basic or our player. Now to make sure our player doesn't go through this, we need to give this a behavior, a flow. So let's open the flow. Okay, so here we go, properties and behaviors. And let's add a behavior to the objects. You can add a platform, which is platform that platformer characters can run on. This is what we need. So once you click on this, you're given three options of type, which is the platform, the jump through platform, and the ladder. Now for this would go through, we'll be using only the platform. Later on in this series would use the jump through platform and the ladder, so would go into more depth. Would I'll explain more of this later on, but for just some basic understanding, the jump through platform lets you jump from beneath the platform and walk on the platform. Okay, while the ladder, it just gives you a ladder behavior, so you can climb the ladder, how a ladder works. So this is ledges can be grabbed. And if you remember clearly on our player, we had an option checked, which is we'll just go there right here. So behavior, so we just can grab platform ledges. So once we check this and apply, and let's go to our flow objects, behaviors, and here, so once we check this, now once our player can now grab this the ledge of this platform. Okay, so this grab offset on y axis, which is the offset, to grab on the y axis. So there we go, that's it basically. So let's preview this. Okay, so here we go. Our player falls down and our player can go through this platform again. Okay, now sorry about that. So as you can see, our player moves. I'm currently pressing my right and left key, which are the arrow keys, and the shift key, which makes our player jump up, and there we go. Okay, so we have this, we have a perfectly working platformer, which is this. Okay, so there we go. Shift key makes it jump, and there we go. This is really beautiful. So now we have a basic platformer game. Okay, so now let's add in let's add some animations for our player right here. Okay, so let's go to our events, use events, and now this is events. This is events are composed of conditions on the left of the events, which is this right here, and actions. So right here, this means we have conditions on the left and we have actions on the right. When conditions are fulfilled, the actions are executed in a short form, just like, which means the conditions must take place before the actions take place. So certain criteria must be met before the actions take place. Okay, so let's go. Let's add a new event. So this is actually what they call an event. An event has a condition and an action in it. Okay, so now to make our player move, let's add use an event. Oh, sorry, we have our player moves already, so we need to run the animation. So to do that, we need to get the keys pressed. Okay, so use an event. Oh, I think it's better we uncheck the default controls. Okay, so default controls, because not everyone would actually want to use the arrow keys. So let's go and use an events. And now for the use an events, now we want our player to move to the right. Once our D key is pressed, we would actually be using WASD for this now. So add a condition and key pressed, that's the name. So we have this, which is the key pressed, and right here, so key press text if a key is pressed, the D key on the keyboard. Okay, so there we go, D key is pressed. Now this is D, so we're actually using WASD. So let's add an empty event, an empty event, and add an empty event. So we have this, D key is pressed. Now once D is pressed, add an action. Now we need to simulate a key, sorry, we need to simulate control. Here we go, simulate right key press. Now beneath this you can see platform behavior, and right here you can see the same thing actually, simulates right key press and simulate right key press. But now this are behavior, so this is the top down movement behavior, and this is the platform behavior. If you use this, it won't work. You have to use the behavior or the right condition. You have to use the right condition based on the behavior. So simulate right key press for player. Now we have this check. Now if we use the simulate right key press for player, this shows red because we don't have top down movements behavior for our players. So there we go. Now okay, Okay, so there we go. Once D key is pressed, simulates pressing right for player. There we go. Now next, add a condition and key pressed. Here we go. Key pressed. We'll be using A4 to make our player move to the left. So A key is pressed. Add an action. Simulate. So simulate left key press. Here we go. Simulate left key press for all player. Okay, so D key is pressed. It simulates right. A key is pressed. It simulates left. Let's preview this. Now since we have our default controls checked, arrow keys don't work anymore, so we're using the event. So here we go, we have this. Now our player moves to the right and moves to the left and pressing A and D key. Okay, so there we go. Let's close this. And now to make our player jump, we'll be using the space key. So like I said, add a condition and key pressed. Again, we have the key pressed and we have the key released. Okay, so key press space. Okay, so once space key is pressed, add an action and simulate. Simulate, there's a jump key press. Here we go, simulate jump key press. That makes the player jump. Okay, so with this, simulate jump key press for player. Okay, so this will make the player jump. Let's preview this. There we go. So now our player can jump once you press the space key. Okay, so now for the animations, actually this is what we need. We need these conditions for the animations. So once D key is pressed, we want certain animations to take place. That's D key is pressed, and we want to flip our player horizontally, but we would flip once we have animations. So let's go this. Now add a condition. Now movement. First of all, let's work with our idle. So to get if your player is to set an idle animation, we need to make sure our player is not moving. Luckily, GDevelop has a condition which checks if your player is moving. So is moving player. Now once player checks if the object is moving. Now player is moving. So if we click on OK, this sets the player is moving. Now there's an option right here, inverts condition, and inverts condition actually sets it to the opposite. So now this sorry about that, invert, and now this translates to player is not moving. So that's the function of the invert. So once it's unchecked, this is player is moving. Once it's checked, player is not moving. So it's basically the opposite of the events. That's the function of the invert condition. So player is not moving. Now we need to set the animation. So here we go, that's loading. Change the animation. We have this, change the animation, and since we set name, now you can just change the animation of player sign set to value 0, and this would work. And also add an action, change the animation. Here we go, change the animation by name of player name and idle. Now this two events or actions would actually work. Now let's look into this. Let's look at why they would work. Now this is the animation number, the 0 here displays your animation number. This animation 0, animation 1, animation 2. Okay, so now this is the animation number, and this is the animation name. Now this is not actually compulsory. You can choose to create your game without adding animation name, and you could use your animation number to place in your animation. So right now, this once our player is not moving, it sets the animation of player to 0, which is idle animation. Also, it sets the animation of player to idle. Now they're basically both the same thing, so I'll just delete this because it's just the same thing. Okay, so now D key is pressed. Now let's add an action. Sorry, add an action, and now here we said player is not moving. Let's add an action. Now player is, when player is actually moving. Now player is moving. Once again, add an action, animation. So here we go. Once our player is moving, change the animation of player sign set to walk. So there we go. Player is not moving, set it to idle. Once the player is moving, set it to walk. Now for our jump, GDevelop does not have. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so for this now, GDevelop has a condition to check if our player is jumping. So add an action, jumping, and platformer. Here we go. So player is jumping, checks if an object is jumping. Okay, so once player is jumping, we can set the animation right here, add an action, and animation. So change, animation by name, player sign set to jump, which is the name we gave to this. Okay, let's preview this now. Here we go. So this is what it looks like. There we go. Our player's moving, jump works, and the walk works, but as you can see, it looks really funny. Our player's like it's like it's dancing. So now to fix this, because it's looping, the animations are working, but it's really fast. Like, okay, so to fix that, let's go to our new scene. Now that's the point of this, which is the frame per second. So here we go, preview this. Now once this, as you can see, it keeps on moving super fast. Now let's set this, the higher it is, the faster it becomes. So let's reduce this, and so value of I think 5 would do. Okay, so here we go. Our player moves a little bit slowly. So if the frames per second is set to 0, our player, okay, there we go. Let's set this to 0. 0 about that. Okay, our player cannot take 0. So there we go. Now it's set to 1 and it's super slow. We don't want that, so let's set that to 5. There we go. Okay, and apply. Preview this. So here we go. This looks much better now. Okay, so now as you can see, our player eyes is facing this side, where it's actually going to the right, because because the animation, it's not flipped. To flip that, let's close this and add. Let's go to our events. Now this is actually the point of this. Once D key is pressed, which is the right, add an action. There is a flip the object horizontally. This would flip the object. Player activates flipping. Yes, no. Once it sets to yes, it would flip. Once it sets to no, it would not flip. So there we go, flip. And once again, A key is pressed. Once A key is pressed, add an action. Flip horizontally. Player and activates flipping. Sorry about that. We're supposed to activate flipping here, and once D key is pressed, activates flipping. No. Okay, so preview this. So here we go. As you can see, it faces that way and this way and that way and this way, and it jumps. It looks really good. Okay, so there we go. Now it looks really beautiful. Okay, so that's it for this part of this series. The next part, we'll be adding a camera to our player, or a smooth camera to our player. Okay, so I'll see you